In the Factor follow-up segment tonight, as if the plan to build a mosque at Ground Zero isn't controversial enough, now the U.S. State Department is sending the imam of that mosque on an outreach trip to the Middle East.
The trip he's about to go on to Bahrain, Qatar, and the UAE was under negotiation before this controversy sparked in New York. But again, the issue of where the mosque is placed, that's an issue for the city of New York and the people of New York. We value his participation in the program. He's been an effective representative for the United States, and we're sending him back to the Middle East.
And they're sending him back there at our expense. With us now, Salam Al-Marayati, the president of the Muslim Public Affairs Council, and joining us from New York, Fox News contributor Andrea Tantaros. Mr. Al-Marayati, let me begin with you and say that Governor Patterson of New York was offering an alternative site in an effort to quell what he described as anxieties about this mosque being built so near to Ground Zero. But then I'm hearing from others in the Muslim community, oh, this was an effort to marginalize Muslims. Why?
Because anxieties should not justify intolerance. We have religious freedom in our country, and anyone who wants to build a house of worship that promotes civic engagement, that is a community center, that, by the way, is not on Ground Zero, should have the right to do so. And furthermore, a person and an institution like Imam Abdurrauf and his Cordoba institution that have been promoting interfaith understanding, promoting America as a country that is not at war with Islam, but accepting of Muslims as part of the pluralism, that is what we need in terms of being effective in fighting the war on terrorism, the war against extremism.
Well, you know, I agree with you. We need pluralism, but Mr. Al-Marayati, I don't understand this. You're saying to me that everyone who is anxious or concerned about the mosque being built there, and I must tell you, it's most Americans at this point. There's a poll out that shows 68% of Americans are concerned about this. You're saying that's all ignorance and fear and sort of whipping up anti-Muslim passions in this country for political reasons? I mean, the governor's not a Republican, he's a Democrat.
For whatever reasons, it is anger, frustration, fear, ignorance, and hysteria. And we as Americans should not tolerate that as a reason to tell people of faith that they should move away, that they should go into hiding.
Andrea Tantaros, let me come to you. Would you agree that people who were families of the 9/11 victims are really just people who are ignorant and Muslim bashing here?
No, not at all. This move is incredibly insensitive. If it were designed to bridge two communities and bridge religions, then this group would move it. Doesn't modern Islam teach to avoid conflict wherever possible when a minority of Muslims are living in an area that has a plurality of non-Muslims? Isn't that what Muslim teaches? I mean, I believe that Stephen Schwartz was quoted in an August 3rd Post editorial, and he's from the Center for Islamic Pluralism, saying that. It begs the question, is this an act of creative nonviolence? Is this some type of religious provocateur? And I would add that this imam will not acknowledge Hamas as a terrorist organization, and he said that the United States was culpable for the attacks at Ground Zero. And I have not heard one credible source seem to clarify for me, Mr. O'Reilly, or anybody else, how this imam can get away with it, and now the State Department, how they can get away with using taxpayer money to send this guy over on another junket. It's absolutely astounding, absurd, and offensive.
Well, Andrea, hang on. So, Mr. Al-Marayati, you heard what Andrea Tantaros just said. She views the construction of the mosque in this location as provocative, that it's not a healing gesture because it's stirring up so many passions of people who suffered in terms of what happened on 9/11, or people who think, you know what, it's just not the right place for this mosque.
We suffered on 9/11. We had Americans, my fellow Americans, who were killed by terrorists, 19 hijackers on 9/11. We had Muslim Americans who were in the World Trade Center buildings, who were victims on 9/11. We share in that horror of what happened to our country. So for somebody to come and tell me that I don't belong to this group who suffered on 9/11, that I belong to the other camp, that means that what she is saying, what those people are saying, either, number one, they're ignorant, they're promoting fear, and more importantly, they are throwing in the towel in the fight against Al-Qaeda. They're saying Al-Qaeda is winning.
Andrea said just a moment ago that Imam Abdul Rauf refuses to say that Hamas, for example, is a terrorist group. What do you say to Andrea?
I've spoken to Imam Abdul Rauf, and I've heard him say that Hamas is a terrorist organization. So I don't know what reports, because this is the problem.
Well, let Andrea respond. Andrea, you've heard this and read this yourself.
I haven't. If they've had some private closed-door conversations, it's news to the world. It's also, I'd love to hear him come out, and this would be a great time for him to do it, and I would strongly encourage you, if he is seeking to really bridge gaps and heal wounds, why doesn't he come out now and say exactly what you just said? Tell everybody what he just told you, that he denounces terrorism, that he denounces these attacks, and set the record straight.
That's not a good point.
Wait, hang on. You say to me that you say I'm making a dumb point. Why is that a dumb point?
No, not you. I'm saying that the guest, again, is misinformed.
Why?
Because people need to hear from Imam Abdul Rauf first and foremost, not to hear about him. For her to quote Stephen Schwartz, who doesn't know anything about the Muslim community,
my point was that he should come out. The Imam should come out and clarify. Why doesn't he?
We are vital as Americans. We Muslim Americans are vital because we are on the front lines fighting.
I agree. One last thing to you.
Yes, sir.
Why not tell us where the money's coming from to build a mosque?
They're ready to audit, and they're ready to show all the funds.
Well, I'd love to see it.
Well, show Andrew Cuomo. It's his job to regulate charities as the New York Attorney General, so I can't wait to look at those documents.
Stop promoting fear.
All right, all right.
Stop promoting hysteria.
Thank you both for coming in. Straight ahead, more bad news about the